Hello, my name is Kali Das. I am a male, 47 years old. I weigh about 155 pounds. First of all, I wanted to say thank you, Dr. Sean Baker, for everything that you're doing and all of your inspiration. You were the person that actually inspired me uh, to discover about the carnivore diet and to eventually get on it. So I wanted to say thank you. And if there's anything else that you need in the future, I would love to be able to help you out, like I'm doing right now, with this recording. So basically, the main reason I decided to get on the carnivore diet was because I had been suffering from chronic fatigue for many years, since like 1998, 1999, somewhere around there. And I've also been suffering from migraines a lot. And so I was kind of wondering if the carnivore diet could help with those two things primarily. Um, I started the carnivore diet last December 2018. And prior to that, I have been eating very healthy, whole foods. I would avoid chemicals and processed flours, processed sugars, hydrogenated vegetable oils. And off and on, I would lean towards either a vegetarian or vegan diet, back and forth. So I would eat meat a little bit and then back off and be vegetarian or vegan and then eat meat again a little bit, like once a week and then there were times when I would eat meat every day for a week or two and then get off of it again and, kind of back and forth like that. Mostly because, I didn't want to have to, be responsible for killing animals in the slaughterhouse and, trying to practice this kind of spiritual nonviolence. And, but I'd always be very physically weak. I would have debilitating chronic fatigue that would take over my life and sometimes not allow me to work a full-time job or do any sort of manual labor. And I would suffer a lot from the cold. And then I would have a weak nervous system. It's hard to describe what that means, but it would just feel, it's hard to say. Like I'd wake up in the morning feeling like I'm fluttering inside my body, like almost like my heart's skipping a beat, but it's not. But it kind of feels like that, and like a sense of feeling hollow. Hard to describe, but I could tell something wasn't right, and I was always trying to go on cleanses and taking green powders and green pills and cleanses and just because I always had this sense that something wasn't quite right with my body. And I also always had sensitive teeth, and I would always be needing to take those toothpastes for sensitive teeth, and I would have dandruff a lot, and I would always be thirsty, and I would be drinking all the time and peeing all the time, and having to get up in the middle of the night a couple of times to go pee, and stuff like that. So I started a carnivore diet in the hopes of at least getting rid of the chronic fatigue and maybe the migraines. And so I did. I started in December, and initially I had a lot of really serious cravings for carbohydrates and sugars, in a way that I didn't even have before that diet, And one of the things that helped me get over that was actually eating liver and drinking raw milk, which are big parts of my carnivore diet. So my diet basically consists of beef, hamburger, and steak, eggs, butter, uh, liver and kidneys, and raw milk, and also raw cheese. So, I basically go through like 2 gallons of raw milk a week, if whenever possible. Obviously, if I'm traveling or, whatever. That's not always possible, but if I can, that's what I try to do. So basically, within a month or so, my chronic fatigue disappeared, and I developed a lot of vitality and strength, and also a sense of physical balance. Like I'm more grounded, more rooted, and I can climb stairs. I feel more solid, and I feel more impervious to the cold. Like the cold doesn't get to me as much. My nervous system has strengthened. Again, that's hard to kind of objectify, but it's just a feeling I have. I can kind of tell there's a difference. I wake up feeling a lot more solid in myself. And a couple of other things. Oh, the dandruff went away. Also, I used to have a white coating on my tongue all these years, and that's gone. So now my tongue is a lot more pink now. All these years I also used to have to take herbs, Chinese doctors, and Tibetan doctors, to try to regain my vitality. And I don't feel like I need to do that anymore. I don't feel like I need to go on cleanses or take, whatever, and or to brush my teeth. I do brush my teeth, but I don't feel like I have to, in the same way that I used to feel like I had to when I used to eat grain products. And my teeth sensitivity went away, so I can use, regular toothpaste now. But one more thing that I wanted to talk about. So all these years, I used to practice yoga, hatha yoga, and meditation, cross-legged sitting meditation. And I used to be a yoga teacher as well. And so all these years, I hit a glass ceiling, you could say, in terms of my flexibility with my yoga postures, but more importantly, with my ability to sit cross-legged on the floor on a cushion. I could never really sit for more than 45 minutes, 50 minutes at a time without feeling pain and discomfort. And every year or every 2 years, let's say, I would go to a meditation retreat cabin in a Tibetan Buddhist center to do a personal retreat for 3 or 4 months, sitting cross-legged on the floor like 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening. And it would always be just really discomforting. But suddenly this time around, since I started the carnivore diet, all of a sudden I could sit cross-legged for up to 3 hours without pain or discomfort. And I have even been able to get into lotus posture and maintain it for 45 minutes, which before I couldn't even do for 5 minutes. And that started with the carnivore diet, and I attribute that to that diet. I really feel like I removed a lot of inflammation from my body. And what's important to note here is that a lot of the vegans and vegetarians feel like they've got a corner on the yoga and meditation market, so to speak. A lot of those types of people tend to engage in yoga and meditation, and so for a lot of people, no doubt many people would think that you kind of have to be a vegetarian to engage in those practices, because that's a lot of what those meditation teachers teach. In reality, in Tibet, they eat a lot of meat and dairy, the yogis and monks and practitioners, and also in India, the tantric practitioners do eat meat. And, in fact, the yoga tradition came from the tantric tradition that eats meat. However, in India today, the yoga tradition and meditation tradition have been dominated by those teachers that teach vegetarianism, and that's also how it's taught in the West. And so there's a lot of people trying to practice meditation and yoga that are really harming their bodies with grain products and vegetarian food. And I really realize now that to be in harmony with your body means to eat a carnivore diet, because we have carnivorous digestive systems. And that's very true with me. I just suffered a lot on a vegetarian diet. Even worse on a vegan diet. At times, like I said, I have been a vegan, and I really got messed up with my nervous system collapsing and having massive chronic fatigue, even worse than normal, and brain fog and suffering from the cold, and and intense thirst and peeing all the time, things like that, which would go into hyperdrive on a vegan diet as opposed to just a vegetarian diet, which wasn't very good for me either. So I would say all those main things, made me feel like I finally have my life back and I can do things. Recently in the last couple of months, I became a long-haul truck driver, specifically a flatbed truck driver, where there was some physical labor involved, a lot of heavy lifting and pulling and pushing and things like that. And I wouldn't be able to survive if it hadn't been for this diet, so I really have a lot to be appreciative for. And of course, my ability to sit, which is very important in my personal life, the meditation practice, I mean. So, and then as far as the migraines, so I still get them from time to time, but the threshold that's required for me to get a migraine has increased. All the little migraine triggers, they have to be huge for me to get a migraine at this point. So there's definitely an improvement there, which I'm also very thankful for. So yeah, I'm a very strong believer in this diet, and and one more little thing. A number of years ago, I had to have an abdominal operation, abdominoplasty. Back in 2009, I had done a lot of heavy weightlifting, and somehow it caused my fascia in between the rectus abdominis muscles to stretch out too much, and so I had this constant pregnant look or bloated look or something. So I went to a couple of doctors who told me what the problem was, and eventually 2 years ago I had the operation to sew it back together. However, three days after the operation, circumstances caused me to have to take a long walk. It wasn't a good idea. I didn't really want to, and I didn't have a choice. So, but it caused a lot of lymphatic swelling to occur, and I'm still dealing with that, unfortunately. But in the meantime, while I'm working on healing that, one of the things that I've noticed is that eating grain products and certain vegetables will cause my lymphatic system, my lymphatic swelling to increase. Whereas if I eat meat and raw milk, it doesn't. I digest those foods very well. They don't feel like there's anything in my stomach, and the lymphatic swelling is heavily reduced when I'm on that kind of a diet. So in a way, that's kind of like a visual barometer for what my digestive system and lymphatic system are supposed to be handling. So that's about it. And again, I wanted to say thank you for all that you've done and all your inspiration. And I was really supportive of you, during those years when you were, working on getting back your, having your license given back to you. And I was very happy for you when you finally got it back, and everything that you had to go through, but you were doing it to help so many people. So I just wanted to say thank you. So yeah, that's it. Okay, bye.